Welcome to episode 9, Young Man and the Three. We have Derek White and Payton Pritchard today, presented by 342 Productions. Jason Gallagher, Trey Murphy in the building. What's up, fellas?
What's up, my guys? Glad to be back on.
Glad to see Trey. Trey decided to grace the show with an appearance after a few weeks.
Yeah. Just glad to be back on the show. I'm not going to say anything else.
I will say, we don't need to spend too much time on the Pelicans, although you guys had 2 great wins this weekend. But you've been balling. I can run through all the stats, but your ego is big enough, so we don't have to do that. You can look it up. But Trey has been playing great. What's been feeling so good for you?
I think the biggest thing is just being aggressive. Something that I worked on with Jrue this summer was different driving lines and, focus on getting to the basket, using my jump shot as a weapon. And, this is what I've been thinking about each game. And obviously, with guys being down, you got to take advantage of that opportunity. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Jason, I know you had a couple of questions.
I do. I have very broad questions. So I've been doing some intros, and Tommy's like, is there anything you want to ask Trey? And I was like, I have 2 things. One big philosophical question for you. As a basketball player, I'm an opinionated basketball fan. As I get on the internet, and as I witness sort of the discourse around various awards, particularly MVP, and I've really started to think to myself that awards in sports seem very antithetical to the point of sports. So my question to you is just sort of, how do you view awards in sports? Do you ever think that they don't matter? I'm starting to really settle into this place where I don't think they matter that much. But I'm very curious what your take is, or what if you or your teammates have ever sort of spoken about just awards in general and the discourse around awards.
It's a good question. I think for me, especially in my background and how, I was kind of underrated my entire life. Awards didn't really mean a lot to me because, I just didn't get them. I had 6 offers coming out of high school. I was number 24 in my state. So I wasn't really getting awards and stuff like that, but it never really deterred me. So now, when I get to when I'm in the NBA and I'm up for my second year, I was probably 6 or so in MIP votes. And, there's different awards that, that could be, I could be recognized for, but I'm kind of numb to it a little bit and don't really care too much about it because, I'm just used to it. I will say for some people, it is very important. Having an MVP, that's super important, especially for example, with Shea, he could have won it last year. There's a strong possibility he could win it this year, but he could also not win it. And it's he's having this really amazing season, but there's a possibility he might not win it. And it shouldn't discredit how good of a year he's having. He's playing out of his mind, and he's a really good player on a really good team, and should have a chance to win that MVP trophy.
I was at the Derrick Rose retirement ceremony in Chicago this weekend on Saturday.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of reasons why, going back to when he was in middle school and high school, why I think D Rose was uniquely important to the city of Chicago, just with his upbringing and what he's sort of done in the community there and everything like that. But I will say he won the MVP when he was 22, which is crazy to think about now. He's like Brandon Miller's age, winning the MVP. Yes, doing that in his home city gave it even more significance. But, I guess, in your guys' perspective, if D Rose doesn't have an MVP, do you think he has the same level of stature as he does now?
Low-key, I still think he has the same.
It's the same thing?
He has the same level, in my opinion, because, Joe King said, he's a people's champ. Even if people want to argue about, his Hall of Fame status, he goes down as one of the best, or at least one of the most influential players and, most idolized players in the entire NBA, entire history of the NBA. Everybody loved D Rose. You couldn't, in my opinion, there's not one person that could really say they dislike D Rose. Maybe some people that he was cooking or dunked on, but other than that though, he was such a humble dude. He just was amazing on the court, super explosive, electric, and stuff, something that people haven't really seen. And so I still think even if he didn't get that MVP award, he would still be pretty highly touted. But obviously that's a cherry on top at 22 years old.
And I'm sure it matters. I'm sure it meant the world to obviously him and Chicago fans and stuff like that. So yeah, but I'm with Trey, just for the record.
And also too, if I may add, it seems like like the MVP award and like celebration isn't as like glorified as it used to be. Like when KD would have his speech, Russ had such a great speech, Harden as well. Like you don't really get that anymore. At least like it doesn't seem like people are really getting that same like excitement. Like they're still not giving that same like recognition. Like it's just different. Hopefully I'm not like off on that, but like I just feel like it's very different. I mean, maybe because I was a kid and like you just look up to those players, but
don't you think some of that though is because Jokic has won it and he like he doesn't care. Like he doesn't get excited about it. He says that like it's just a thing. He openly is like, I don't care about it. And then not to like blame the media for everything, but the media deserves a lot of blame. The like discourse around it is so shitty and so stupid. And it becomes a thing where people are, whether it's they stuff with him and Joel or whatever it is, where it becomes so dumbed down that I feel like, to Jason's point about people who just like basketball and don't want to fight all the time, they like tune it out. They're just sort of like, they're both great.
And to just elaborate, it's like, I don't even know how you compare Shea and Jokic. Like they're just such different players, and the idea that fans are like arguing on the internet over these two is really funny. And then to Trey's point, I wish we didn't look at it as this like objective truth that this player is undisputed best, whatever. And I wish it was just like more celebratory is the way that Trey is sort of describing.
The follow-up I have, we've talked with Tyrese about this last year when he was hurt, and I think a bunch of people have sort of talked about this over the last couple of years publicly, is with the all-NBA stuff and the minimum games. I mean, I don't know if this is the same exact conversation, but like Trey, you guys have seen this with your team. It's been the craziest injury shit I've ever seen. But like the idea that you need to force yourself to play because of an arbitrary award feels like it's like antithetical to like what's good for the human body, and so I'm just curious if you think that's gonna like come to a head at some point where there's almost it doesn't feel right, basically, that if you play 66 games but you dominate, but you had to miss those other games because you were actually hurt, that you should not be eligible for all. I remember we talked about with Tatum, and he lost a bunch of money because of it. And it was and so I don't know. I don't know if it's the exact same conversation or not, but it does feel like there's probably some connection.
Yeah, I definitely think it should be based on, like it's tough because, if you try, there's always going to be ways that people find a loophole, because if you say like, okay, it has to be based on like actual injuries instead of people saying like rest, they'll just be like, okay, ankle management or like illness. And it's like, you can't really like question somebody being sick. So then if it's like, the whole thing is like about participating, but there are actually a lot of guys like you said with Tyrese last year, he probably came back too quickly and was playing hurt for a good amount of time. And that's not good for anybody. That's not good for the league. That's not good for Tyrese. It's not good for his team. And, that's a problem. But if he doesn't play and he doesn't have a chance to make that All-NBA, then he's missing out on a large amount of money, which at the end of the day, like, this is a career and you have a short window of time that you're going to be playing this game, and you want to try to make the most amount of money that you can in this time so you can give back to your family or do things that you want to do with that money. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. And I don't envy Adam Silver for that one, because you got to figure it out in order to, appease the players as well as appease the fans and the product that you're trying to put out there.
Yeah, I think there's so many variables outside of basketball too that just factor in. I'm a big proponent. I've been very open about my. I believe that the MVP votes should be go back to being private because of what groupthink has sort of done to the voter pool. That obviously opens yourself up to homers sort of just voting for their people and no one knowing that. But I don't know. I've said this on another podcast before, but I remember talking to a young MVP voter last year who was like, I would have voted this way, but I knew the votes were going to be public. And it's like a funny thing to consider because you're talking about guys that are trying to make it in sports media. They're young. They're probably they're voting with the same group of people that probably dictate their future jobs. There's so many variables outside of just basketball that I don't know. I'm just feeling a real fatigue around this year's MVP vote. So that's it.
Before we get to the draft, Trey, can we talk about the dunk in the Memphis game?
Oh, you're trying to be funny.
We're just curious.
Okay, let me lay this out for you right here. I want to say it's the end of it's like the end of the second half. No, end of the first half, sorry. In the first half, I probably have like 22 at this time. Something like that.
Yeah, you're cooking. You cooked the whole game.
Correct. I was cooking. And I had an open fast break. And I said, you know what? I'm about to really put a stamp on this. I'm going to windmill this. As soon as I planted my foot, I slid. And I'm telling you, it was not my shoe because it was like I was on the ground. Like it was like this. It wasn't like I was on the side of my shoe. It was like this. And so my foot slid. And I fell. And so one thing also I'm going to say is I was not looking at the referee. I'm looking at the ball boys because like I'm cool with the ball boys. And I'm looking at them like, yo, bro, what are y'all doing? Like, that's the floor wet. And so it was funny just seeing out on Twitter, people like, yo, why is he looking for a foul? I'm like, no, I wasn't looking for a foul. It's me and DeJounte right there. I'm not looking for a foul. I'm looking at the ball boys and I'm like, yo, what are y'all doing? Like, this can't happen. This is unacceptable. During the game, obviously, I'm mad about it, not happy at all. But then after the game, when I saw it, I'm just laughing about it because, like, that's hilarious. If I'm being honest with you, like, it's hilarious. And so then I made a little TikTok about it and added a little sound in there, posted it on Instagram because it can't embarrass me. Like, I promise you, like, it's so hard to embarrass me because, like, I'm probably going to laugh at myself too.
Yeah.
I think that's well
great.
said. That was well said.
I did have a second question, Tommy.
Okay, before we draft, let's get to Jason's second question.
Okay, this one's less big picture. I follow Najee Marshall on Twitter, and I'm just curious. You're like just one sentence response to his little dust up the other night. He's your friend, right?
That's my dog, man. I literally talked to him today.
Thoughts?
I don't want to sound, politically incorrect at all. But I will say Najee is somebody that I would not want to fight. Let me just say that. And he is very heavy-handed. This is something that I have told him for 3 years while he was on my team because he likes to play around and, like, punch people. And I'm like, bro, stop hitting me. You are too heavy-handed for that. Like, he's actually hurt. And so if he lands a clean shot on somebody, like he's gonna put a lot of pain on him. So, but I'm not surprised though. But that's Najee though. He's gonna stand up for his teammates, and then if you step to him, he will make sure he will step back to you. So, and continue to step to you until he feels like he's done enough. And so, I wasn't surprised, but we called him like right after, and let's just say that conversation was very, very funny.
Well, as a person who grew up a Dallas Mavericks fan and follows a lot of Dallas Mavericks fans, the fans were very much in his corner.
Absolutely. You can't, everybody's in Najee corner, man. He's one of those guys.
How fast did you realize that you passed him in the number of fouls committed as a Pelican?
When he tweeted it. Here's the thing, too. I didn't even see that he tweeted it. My dad sent it to me. And I was just like, bro, like, what's wrong? I sent it to Najee. I'm like, yo, what's wrong with you? And you know what's funny, too? I said to him, I was like, bro, you hack more than I do. And then his response was, data shows otherwise.
It's also it's just hilarious that somebody sent him that. It's like it's such a specific thing to be counting.
Fouls,
to even
like,
to have it get in front of him.
Like, are we really counting fouls right now? Okay.
That's funny. All right.
Awesome.
We're going to go to the interview. We taped this interview with Derrick White and Payton Pritchard in Minneapolis on January 1st. So before their crazy West Coast road trip. These guys are a trip. Payton's got one of the craziest training stories I think you will ever hear. And then we will get to the draft with Trey after the interview.
Pete, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
I guess we could go back to college since I remember a little freshman, Payton Pritchard at Oregon. What was your first impression of the Pac-12? We'll start with that and just the whole conference of champions, as Bill Walton would say.
For sure. I mean, we were obviously the champions that year, regular season. We had a really good team, a lot of pros on the team. I do remember playing you guys when we were like top 5, and that's when I first saw Derrick for the first time, and he put about probably like 30 on us at Colorado. They stormed the court. He was unstoppable. But it was a lot of good – that year was actually a lot of good talent. Like, UCLA, they had Alonzo, Markelle Fultz, Derrick at Colorado. We had a good team.
Arizona.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Pac-12 had a lot of good teams at that time. So
Were you aware of his game before he put 30 on you guys?
Well, we knew he was a good player. And I think I seen Derrick the first time in Colorado Springs. Because then you used to, like, when you went to school out there, didn't you do stuff at the USA facilities?
Yeah,
Like
I used to
scrims?
go to
So I remember I seen it one time, and the coaches were talking. And at this time, he was only a D2 player, and they were like, "Oh, this kid's really good," but like at the time, you don't really take it serious or anything. And then he goes to Colorado, and then look at him now.
What was your guys' scout on him at that point?
I probably was not high on the scouting report. I was more of a run the play.
Yeah, that was
A lot of those guys didn't like me taking shots, so
yeah, that was. I mean, I think you had a really good game that game, though.
I did. Yeah.
Just shooter. I mean, they kind of had that little flow of the offense that kind of went through Dylan Brooks and all the other guys, but we definitely had to be aware of where Payton was, and I do remember him. He played really well that game, and he kind of was like keeping them in it, and that was like our second Pac-12 win. So it was great for the confidence boost that we needed.
I was meaning to ask you, what was the West Lynn basketball scene like when you were growing up?
Like the environment,
Just like what was the competition like? Like what was the?
I mean, it was good. It was. I think Oregon has a lot of good talent. I mean, I was not supposed to win my freshman year. We got lucky and went on a run. And at the time, where the school Kevin Love went to, Lake Oswego, my freshman year of high school, they were like number 8 in the country. They had were undefeated, beat a lot of ranked teams or whatever, and then we ended up upsetting them in the semis. And after I won that year, we were the team to beat. We obviously had a lot of deep teams. Like I tell people this all the time. My senior year, we had 3 or 4 dudes go D1 in basketball, and then we had 2 MLB draft prospects that got drafted, and then 2 NFL players. So it's just for a high school team, that's a lot of athletes.
Did you play football like your dad?
I did. I stopped after my freshman year. I kind of
What position?
quarterback.
Do you ever have that what if?
My dad he used to think I was way better at football than basketball. And some people around me probably think the same, but I don't know. I just enjoy basketball so much more. And I hated just playing one side of the ball and practicing throughout the week and only playing one game. It just wasn't that fun.
I chose basketball because you could be indoors.
For sure.
You could just play all year.
Yeah, you're
round.
warm.
Yeah.
You playing in practice, you're scrimmaging. It's just more fun.
Yeah, and you're in football, you're cold, you're hitting, let me just get inside and.
That's not. I was playing quarterback, and I remember this my center, and we were practicing. This is in 8th grade. This is when I was like, man, I don't know about this. It was out in cold, and we did a play, and then compound fracture right in front of me, and I'm just like, I don't even know if I'm ready for this anymore.
That was it.
Yeah.
Was Oregon always the plan college-wise?
No, I committed to Oklahoma at first because my parents went there, and I kind of felt like I was following their footsteps. And then when it came time to it, I was like, man, I kind of just want to stay home. And I thought I saw a path of success at Oregon. Thought I could eventually earn a starting spot there, and be a part of a winning program. And so I decided to go that route.
What was Dylan like in college?
I mean, so the thing is everybody knows Dylan is a little crazy, but it's what makes him good. He's a psycho competitor. Yeah. And if you're on his team, you're gonna really enjoy playing with him because there's one thing, even in practice, he's going to leave it all out on the floor every time. So, as a teammate, you respect it. Now, if you're playing against him, he's definitely going to do annoying things and try to get under your skin and stuff, but that's just who he is.
Well, it's funny. I think we've talked about this about him, but like I talked to Des Bain about it a lot when they were in Memphis together. Like every one of his teammates loves him. And I haven't talked to the Houston guys about it as much, but like the Memphis guys all loved him. I'm more curious, like he's gotten so good. He's a great player. He's a great, an international player as well, but like he's gotten so good at the competitive stuff, at just being able to sort of like manage that with himself and his teammates, but then also get under a guy's skin. Was he as good at that back then? Or is that something that you noticed a difference in as he sort of like learned?
I think he's definitely gotten better. He's probably matured.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely have seen some things where in practice and stuff, he would freak out and stuff, but I always say it's a blessing and a curse because it's probably what makes him great. And he wouldn't be at the level he's at without that competitiveness. So, but I think he's definitely controlled it more now.
Yeah, I bet those practices were crazy because P here is probably one of the most competitive people we have on the team. And any chance of one-on-one, any competition, P's in there. So big man, wing, guard, like he just looks to play one-on-one nonstop. And it's fun to see him compete.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah, definitely. I was playing one-on-one since young. I mean, Steve Blake was in the league, and I was going into my sophomore year of high school that summer. And we probably played it during the week, like one-on-one every day. And I never won one time. But so that just kind of instilled in me, like, trying to go against people that are probably better than me and stuff and, like, competing. And ultimately, that's probably going to make you better. I have
a question for both you guys about this. How do you harness I think every professional athlete has a version of this question. How do you harness that edge and the competitive spirit with also just purely like in a pure sort of basketball level, not even talking about like in your personal life, like how to scale it back when you need to, whether that's like in the locker room, whether it's like, okay, sometimes I need to, take the back seat on this, I need to do things that are, for the good of the team rather than this. But when you have that, part of why you are here, why you're in this position that you're in is because of that edge. And so how do you sort of learn to harness that?
Do you want to kind of take that first?
I think that you just try to do what's the best for the team in that moment. Like obviously everybody wants to like play really well and be in the game and close lineups and stuff like that. But just if your teammate got it going and just kind of understanding different ways that we can win games. And so you kind of just reading how the game is going, and obviously you want to win and you want to help any way you can, but just having your teammates back, I think, is just the most important part, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, obviously you're always trying to do especially with our team, like a lot of different guys can close and stuff, and it's just like Derrick said, a lot of guys can have different nights, and it's trusting in that, and at the end of the day, it's like Joe's decision what he decides on that. But I feel like as far as like personally, I don't necessarily look game to game, but I'm just always trying to find ways to keep getting better and better. Like, so like bad game, good game, like it's just learning and keep growing and growing. And then in the minutes I do get, I got to take full advantage and just play as well as possible, because in the end that just helps our team. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Was when you were in school, was 4 years always the plan?
I really had no thought. Like, if I could have got to the league quicker, I definitely would have. I mean, they didn't really give me the keys to like really run the offense till my like junior year.
Yeah.
So I could have left after my junior year. It would have been a late second round, midway second round pick. Decided to come back and try to up my stock, and it obviously worked out for me.
Did you have a particular highlight? Like I was watching the Washington game, the buzzer beater, the Arizona game where you went crazy. Like, was there one thing that stood out as like when you look back at that experience, like this was sort of the peak? Like
how well I was playing?
Like, well, just like your personal like
favorite moment.
This was my favorite moment. Yeah,
man. I mean, the Washington one it's a rivalry game, and that was probably one of my favorite shots. The Arizona game was probably one of my favorite games just because we had to win the conference kind of, or if we lost, they were probably going to win. So it was two ranked teams, so there was a lot riding on that game. And And I remember they had like 3 or 4 dudes that were supposed to be first-round picks, and they had a kid named Nico Mannion, who was the starting point guard at the time, and they were saying he was going to be a top 10 pick. So obviously I had that circle and was ready for that moment, and yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like something that gets you going.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to go back to the most competitive guy in practice. Do you have a story of this that you've seen from when you guys at any point since you guys have played together?
I mean, you just go back to the one-on-one. Like I just remember, like I was shooting, I looked down, I see P playing one-on-one against Anemi, like in the post, like doing this. Like I'm like, why are you guarding Anemi in the post? And he's like, I like it. Like now I can learn different ways to score around the basket. Like I can learn how to guard the big man in the post. And I was like, I guess I never really thought of it like that. But just having that competitive edge, and like anytime we're playing pickup or like open gym before the season, like Payton's team's usually the one winning. So you're just a pain to guard, and just having that competitive edge and the competitive spirit nonstop.
Draft night 20. Do you have a particular recollection from the whole experience?
Yeah, I remember the whole thing. I remember being a bunch of people around, and I'm just sitting there like every pick goes by and people are just staring and waiting, and I'm like, I'm going upstairs. I can't be around everybody. Like, I'm sure you remember. Just like everybody's on edge. You're just sitting there waiting for a call from your agent. And I didn't even think I was going to go to Boston, and because I was looking at the roster too, and I'm like, they're guard heavy. They picked 2 point guards to draft before. And then I didn't even work out for them or anything. And then I randomly, 26th pick came. My agent called and said, I'm getting picked. And I'm like, it's crazy. But
well, I was curious about this with this particular draft, with the 2020 draft. We've talked about this with Tyrese before, for example, but it's a loaded draft in retrospect. But because of COVID, it was like everything was different. And so do you feel like in retrospect, if you had more of a normal process, things might have gone differently?
Yeah, I think I definitely would have got drafted higher, honestly, because I think I would have had the March Madness, and the way I was playing, I was ready for that moment, and that can boost your stock right there, just of having good performances and leading your team. And then, I definitely wasn't going to duck smoke in pre-draft workouts, and like I was going to want to go.
He would have thrived doing workouts.
So I was like, but I didn't get to. I only did 2 individual workouts that whole time, and it was Toronto and Detroit. They came to LA, and so I just didn't get that opportunity. But it still worked out. And
yeah, I'd say. I was thinking. I think you would be like 30 workouts, like wherever the top guys were. You were just gonna fly around, but that is kind of interesting how. Like the COVID and everything kind of impacted.
Sure. Changed everything.
Because so many people get drafted just off of a big March. And I think you had a big March. Like, were you in March every year? March Madness?
Except my sophomore year, we had a down year.
Yeah, but you guys were pretty much deep every year and played well. So that for sure would have.
What were your pre-draft workouts like?
I did 16 workouts, I think, 15 or 16. I went to... it's kind of a weird process. Like you fly in the city the night before, you wake up, you do the workout 3-on-3 most of the time, and then they just drive you to the airport and you fly off to the next city, and you're kind of just flying all over the place. But I thought I was pretty solid. I don't want to say I'm the best 3-on-3 player, but
I had one draft workout where I got torched. I was coming off like this is my junior year, and I did one in Atlanta. Then I had to fly to Sacramento to do the next one. And I was playing against, do you remember the kid named Chris Clemens?
Mm-hmm.
He's like this short little 5'8" kid, but he was leading the college and like scoring. And then we played 3-on-3. And like, that's the worst time to guard somebody that quick, that fast. And he's like, pull it up. And it's just full court.
Yeah, a lot of space.
Was he talking? Or just...
He wasn't talking, but it just was like, it was his day.
So in the workouts for both of these, are you getting any kind of real time feedback? Like, will you hear from your agent? Will you hear from anyone being like, "Oh, you crushed that," or maybe they're not going to be like, "Oh, you sucked," but like, are you getting any sort of sense on like how it went in real time, or is it just sort of like you go, you do it, you get on the plane, you bounce, and you go to the next place?
After the workout, you usually like sit down and have a little meeting with the front office or the coaches, whoever's there. But you kind of have a feeling of how you did, and they'll talk with your agent. But like I went to San Antonio and I was not good at all. And like they were like, maybe we'll have you back for a second workout, and they just canceled that. And so I was like not thinking I was going to go there, and then 29th pick I get drafted. So it's kind of an interesting process. I kind of just want to see you up close in person and just kind of get to know you. But yeah, some people put a lot of stock in it, some people don't, and so it's interesting.
What was your thought about the Boston roster before you got there?
So I thought there was no chance I was ever going to play. I actually played like out of my first 3 years, my most though was my rookie year because Kimba was hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking at it like there's no way it's going to be very hard to crack this rotation. But things happen, and it's a long journey, and it willed my way into there. What
do you think the biggest initial adjustment? I mean, I was looking at the stats of your first couple months because you had to play a lot early because you were mentioning because of the Kemba injury. What was your biggest adjustment between the 4 years in school and then getting to the league?
I mean, you got to learn defensively. Like, it's a different type of, guys can be in the paint, but just a different level of skill. So you got to find out how are you most going to impact the game defensively and not get cooked. And obviously, with my size, I got to be very like a pest and picking guys up and using my hands very well and stuff like that. So it was an adjustment to learn those different things, and then, picking up on guys' tendencies and stuff like that. But offensively, it's easier, I think, to score in the NBA than college. Like,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's just space.
Yeah,
space is everything.
I feel like college is similar to what they say in like Europe. It's like Europe's harder, but it's also because you can camp in the lane. Usually, the big man's sitting there. You're not going to have as many shooters like in college.
Yeah.
Probably got one or two guys that can't shoot the three ball on the court. In the pros, it's very rare. Like not having it on our team really. So
yeah.
So you got to cover all five guys, and it just leaves guys on the island.
And you learn that right away.
Yeah, you have to pick it up or get left behind.
You're not going to be.
Yeah. So I mean, I took my lumps, but you learn from it, keep moving on, and get better and better.
Did you have a Chris Clemens moment early?
Yeah. I mean, I played Kyrie and them on Christmas Day, and I remember guarding Kyrie for the first time and just like how fast he was and how quickly he could change directions and his fluidity. So I definitely had some tough matchups that I had to guard, and they got the best of me.
I wanted to ask both you guys this. We've talked about this about Kai in particular, before, but like, has there been a moment when you've been on the court, and this can be one of your teammates as well, like it doesn't have to be happening to you, where you've had just like an awe, like you've been in awe of what you just witnessed?
Yeah, it just happened recently.
Yeah.
John Morant. Yeah.
John's dunk was crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's like just some of the athletic stuff that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, watching some of the stuff JB does, it's kind of impressive. You're just like, how is this possible? JT,
it's a lot of players like D. White, how he blocks shots sometimes, his timing. Jrue, how he can move laterally defending. Like he always is able to cut guys off without cutting them off. Like just his awareness. JT at his size, the way he can shoot it, dribble
Payton
it.
Half court.
Yeah,
we're getting to that. That's coming.
Yeah, no, it's
the Ja thing. I've just like from a pure explosiveness standpoint, it feels like it almost is like physiologically impossible to do some of the stuff that he does.
for sure. It's amazing.
He's a freak, but I was like too close to it when it happened, and then I had to like watch it back. I was like, yeah, that was special.
Where were you when he had the putback?
I was like right around the baseline.
Did you know right away?
No, I mean, we was all waiting to see if it was even good.
Yeah.
Because you really couldn't tell.
Yeah, it was close. I felt like I got it off, so I was like pretty confident. Everybody was like, did you get it off? I'm like, I think so, but like you never really know in the moment.
I mean, we were just all running around just waiting.
Yeah, we were just like looking up at the Jumbotron, just waiting for the replay to come out. And
no, if we would have ended up winning that series, that'd have been, I mean, still it's a historic moment, but that would have been.
It was just like it was an all-time clutch play. It's funny watching on TV though, because on TV, you're jumping up and down. You're like, I got it. And everyone else is just kind of sitting there.
Everybody's kind of just like
we don't know.
Wait a second.
You're right.
I think Rob's running up to me, just hit me. He's like, did you make it? I'm like, yeah. But and then like it was kind of just like a silence in the arena, like everybody just up there looking up, and then just exploded.
An incredible moment.
How do you think? This is kind of a sort of a strange way to put this because it's like instincts are instincts, but also can instincts be learned? Because I feel like a play like that, that's just you. That's just your brain. I mean, it was a physical action, but it's also your brain to be able to do that. Is that something that can be taught, or you just have it?
I think it's only taught through just playing a lot, and that's the only way. I feel like playing basketball, learning how the ball comes off the rim, right? Like, I don't know if you can, there's no drills or anything. It's just playing the game and learning different ways to affect it.
Yeah, and I think, like, a lot of time people, like, try to get in their head too much. And then, like, when you just kind of just trust your instincts, trust what you see, that's when people start when they're in a slump or something, they probably start overthinking.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Instead of just, like, trusting the instinct, trusting your form. And so, but it's also, like, you just learn a lot, just listening, which I think is the most underrated skill in basketball, just listening. And we talked about it in training camp, how at the end of the game, like, 5 guys should crash because there's no point in getting back. And that one little talk we had in training camp led to that big moment. So just listening, learning, and then just trusting your instincts. Do
you feel like you had a before you got to the league in college, you had a breakthrough moment from a mental standpoint, where you feel like you really because we were just talking about you at Colorado and how you were cooking basically every night there, but like, we've talked already about your path, but like to get to that place before you even get to the NBA took a major jump. And so do you feel like there was a point where you just, the confidence just kind of like snapped and you had it?
Yeah, probably that Oregon game. Honestly, was
you did it for him.
Shout out to you.
You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for
We won championships now because of that moment.
Yeah, but like I had a good game against Xavier early in the year, but like they were still kind of like trying to figure out like my position on the team. But then I had a big game against Oregon, and then like from that moment on, I felt like I was the guy on the team, and that kind of ran the offense through me. And so also just being a team that was so talented like they were, and just proving to myself and everybody that I can play and can play at that level. And so that was probably like the uptick of my season. And then I had a really good like last 3 or 4 games of the season. So I was pretty my stock was rising at the right time.
What do you think the characteristics of a good locker room are?
Guys not having, I mean, it's tough because like guys have egos, but it's like not allowing that to like, I don't know what the word I'm maybe trying to, but just like guys putting the team before themselves always. And I think this team has a bunch of really good dudes, and like they all have that. Without like everybody has an ego because everybody wants their own success and stuff. Yeah. But it's just this team has the ability to always put the team first.
I think like the great part about this is that like our team is that we let everybody be who they are. Mm-hmm. Like we don't judge anybody, and like from the top to bottom, like if you want to be goofy jokes like Luke, like we embrace that. Like just whoever you are as a person, and it's cool to see like everybody kind of like just step up into like their own personality, and everybody just kind of embracing it, and we're all just doing things together for the betterment of the team.
Yeah, and it feels like we were talking before, but just the reps, and like you guys have so many reps together at this point. And so it does feel like, and there's like numbers to back this up, it does feel like no matter who's not playing, who's banged up, whatever it may be, it's like you're plug and play, 5 different guys off the bench, and you're still getting a version of the same productivity. And that probably is a tribute to what you're talking about a little bit.
Sure. I mean, we have a lot of good guys like being professional, working on their games every day. So when that opportunity does come, guys are ready for it. And, I don't think we ever look at it as like, it's going to be like, I know for myself and other guys that they're ready for any of those moments that like there's more uptick in minutes or anything. They got to take full advantage of it and help the team win that night. We
were talking about this a couple months ago. Your experience in the finals in 22 versus 24, was there a noticeable personal difference for you?
Just understanding like what the circus is going to be like. You know, the media, family, and friends, everybody trying to make it to the game, and to be honest, you just get better at it, just managing it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
That's what I was. That's probably like the shock of all that goes into the finals, like the media for 30 minutes before every game, or like the day before every game, and just the buzz, and they're asking so many questions, and like this is the stage that you dream about. So the first time you're like, you're like in awe, looking around, like it's amazing, and this is the second time we're like, yeah, all right, we know.
For sure.
Do you feel like after this past year, there's anything, now you've kind of seen it all to a certain extent, after Paris too?
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of really cool things, and definitely a lot of different ways we've won games and played in a lot of big games. So it's been fun.
What did you notice about, when we were talking about good locker rooms? I think it's the proof is in the pudding with you guys, obviously, but with the USA, from that experience, from just a chemistry standpoint, like what do you feel like you were able to take and bring back?
I mean, first off, just a lot of mutual respect for everybody. But obviously we had like the legends, LeBron, Steph, and KD. But I remember my first like day out there, we had a game, and Bron's out here handing out towels to each person. I'm like, LeBron James, like that's kind of crazy but he's handing out towels, and then kind of just trickled down to like we had to pass out jerseys, and like that everybody's in there, like Steph's in there handing out jerseys, like we're looking around, we're just so we had like that unity of this is a big moment, whether you score a lot, and there's only one thing that matters.
We've now talked about this a bunch, but did you think that they were done against Serbia when you were watching?
For sure. For sure. I was watching. I was actually getting ready for my wedding. It was like a day or two before, and I'm just sitting there on the couch like, I can't believe this is about to happen. Like I honestly, like I think they were like, if they make one of those shots, like it could have really went the other direction.
Yeah, for sure.
But it just writes a better story for it. You guys came back and got it done.
So this year, a lot has been talked about the incredible season you've had. We can list through 100 different numbers. You're right now the third player in the league with the 120 plus threes. What do you feel like the difference has been? Just
being more confident, and like you kind of touched on this, not second guessing anything, and trusting in the work. And we're playing very free, and obviously Joe gives the confidence in us to like never pass up, especially on a three ball. And kind of just took that and ran. And any chance I get a opening, I'm gonna let it fly.
Have you noticed a difference?
Yeah, I think just consistency. Like great game, bad game. Like he's just the same guy every day. Just comes in ready to work. And one of my favorite things is like before shoot around is watching him and Sam Hauser shoot and just work out, and just seeing how fast they're moving, how well they're shooting is just one of my favorite things to do. I just kind of sit over there and watch it before practice starts, and it's good to see like all that work that they both put in, that when the lights are on, like never second guess and shoot any shot you want, and we all have confidence that he's going to make every shot he takes, honestly.
Have you had the same routine pregame?
No, it's changed over the years. You add little tweaks. The years when I wasn't playing as much, I played a lot more like kind of live stuff, and it was a lot longer.
Yeah.
It'd have been like 30, 40 minutes for a game, but now it's like the last shooting time, and obviously I play a good amount of minutes, so it's 15 minutes, precise, efficient work, and then it changes though. I let Craig, our player development, who takes me through the workouts, like control it, and I have little inputs there and there, but I trust what he's trying to simulate for me.
What are you doing? I think you either talked about this in an interview or you said it somewhere about some of the live stuff you've done in the offseason from a prep standpoint. Has that changed at all?
No, that's the same thing.
It's all the same?
Summertime's the same.
So like walk us through that.
So I would hire like 2 to 3 people at least to come and guard, and they'd be either D1 kids or like I have a couple friends that play professional overseas at a high level, and they're all different heights and different types of positions. And like this summer, I would do like I would set up cones, right? So if I'm in like a certain spot, I would set up 2 cones, and the defender's in between there. So I can't get by them outside the cones. I got to get by in a small space. So then I'm just going through, popping out or off the dribble, or different situations, but like learning how to beat them and those a big man, a guard, like different moves it's going to take to in that situation. So I just rep that out, and it's probably like 300, 400 possessions straight.
And is it the same kids all summer, or is it different?
No, it changes some. I find the ones that definitely go the hardest, and then I'll keep them around more. And I used to, like, I think for me, like, what I started, instead of just paying them a flat rate, like I used to make it more challenging. Like if they win a spot, like that's $50 in the pot for them, and like a spot would be to 5. So if they win 3 out of 5 or something like that. But by the end of it, I'm getting so tired, it's like hard to, and I can't go to the rim. That's another thing I try to simulate. I try to treat it like there's a big man there, so it's all pull ups or 3 balls. So
they have a real vested interest in going at you. And
sure. I've lost a good amount of money some days, but I just look at it as it's part of helping me get better.
Make it back in the end.
When did this start?
I would say my end of my 3rd year the league is when I did it a little bit, but then that's when I'm like, I noticed that that's what I thought made me better and better. Like I added to my bag and added to different moves and different shots. Like going into my 4th year, I really focused on like my mid-range game and just finding spots that I could really affect it. And I thought I took a huge jump that summer by doing that. And then this summer I focused on obviously keeping all that, but like shooting off the dribble from 3 and creating separation with my step back, which I think has helped me like get another 1 or 2 threes up a game just by the off the dribble creation.
What about your routine? What's changed?
I think I'm just more efficient. When I first was in the league, like I'm just going to the gym and kind of trying to figure it out. And like I had my trainer, Marcus Mason, since I was in 8th grade. So I've always been with him, but now it's like real efficient. Like I'm gonna lift at this time before, then we're gonna go in, we're gonna hit a quick hour or so, like shooting, ball handling, whatever it might be, and then just doing that consistently over the whole week or the whole summer has been good for me. So just much more efficient than just kind of when I'm first in there, I'm just trying to be in the gym as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. It does feel like we just talk about this with JJ all the time, but Steph is famous for this as well. Like with shooters, you have to have a level of that regimentation. Like there's only so, no matter how talented you are, there's only so much you can like just show up and make it happen. Like you need to be,
sure.
I mean, JJ would go over the top because he would be like, I got to eat lunch at like 1:52, and like everything was like down to the minute. But at the same point, like if that's what works, that's what works. And it feels like finding that is a huge part of the process of sort of how to make it professionally.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just, you lean on your routine, and like I feel like that's just, like if you wake up every day and like, oh, I got to get this done, then it's just those days stack up, which ultimately just make you that much better. If you don't have a routine, then I feel like you can, I'll skip today, or I don't need to do this. But I mean, that's probably where JJ is just like, he saw it work for him, and then he just kept going with it.
With the kids over the summer, are any of them local, or are you flying them all in?
There was a couple kids from UMass College. There was some some flew in. Kids I knew from Oregon that would stay with me and stuff like that.
It's a very intense way to
train,
get yourself better, because it's like Hunger Games.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. I think I'm probably crazy because I enjoy it so much because it's just playing. But
yeah,
I've learned to create it where I definitely think it's beneficial, and I definitely try to simulate the most game-like in it. So
it's always better when someone else is there, like a live body.
For sure.
Like if you're doing a one-on-one work, it's tough.
I can't do it no more.
But even like if I'm just working out, and like I got my boy who plays overseas, like working out with me, just kind of just pushing each other.
For sure.
Learning a little bit from him.
Yeah.
So it's just so much better to have like a group dynamic to that workout.
Do you like lifting alone, or do you prefer lifting with somebody else, especially in the summertime?
I can lift by myself. Well, like I have a a strength guy, which I think was big for my career, honestly, because at the beginning I would just do it by myself, and like some days I'm like, you might take a little slack, but you having someone there to push you, to correct you or whatnot. But if I have like a friend or something, like, it's always better to.
That was definitely the thing that I struggle with most, is just the weight room. And once I bought into it too, but like I had to invest in like hiring somebody full time in the summertime, or just a buddy that will go through the lifts with you. But it's just not the fun part. But
is that the competitiveness though? Is that where that jumps out, is having someone there that you can basically like beat, like to a certain extent?
I don't know about competitive, but it just kind of holds you accountable.
Yeah,
I guess.
More, I think in that sense.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's like basketball when you're working out, playing. It's the game, you love the game. But like the weight room isn't that. It's boring and stuff, but like it's something you need to do. And I feel like you said, it's just accountability, making sure you're getting all your reps in, doing the exact what's being asked.
Can you walk us through the half court process?
Just a lot of luck. I don't practice it, and I haven't hit one this year. I'm like 0 for 20.
So you don't practice it at all?
No.
Yeah, but you can definitely tell like the Payton effect. Like every time it's like the end of the quarter, like 3 guys will just run to Payton. And so I feel like his half court shots have been a lot more difficult this year.
They've been difficult.
I mean, I had a floater last game at the buzzer, and like I crossed over and there was nobody there, and like probably like 3 guys were running to Payton. Just assume we're gonna give it to him.
You swung multiple finals games with. It's like at a certain point, it becomes like a bigger thing than it probably actually is, because it's every time you do it, it's a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it went in big moments and stuff like that. But I always just think like it used to get irritated, and KP said something to me about it too. But like guys not taking them, even if it's like 3/4, like they could swing a game
because of the percentage. Because they don't want it.
But like that shot could come down and you win the game off that. Like that's how I view it.
Yeah, and like you made 2 in the finals, but like just the whole year, just the momentum swing that comes from it. I mean, even like game 5, like I was in the tunnel because my tooth was chipped, and so I was headed back, and I just hear the crowd like explode, and I was just like, "What happened?" And they're just like, "Payton," like it was like he's unbelievable, but like just that momentum that we had going in. I mean, we were up anyways, but like it just seemed like, oh, this is our time, and I think game 2 or game 1, you hit like a buzzer beater that kind of like did the same thing.
You
had
one in the Indy series, I think, too. It was sort of building
Cleveland,
or the Cleveland series. Yeah, it was like building up throughout the playoffs, and so that's why it sort of became a thing that everybody was saying you practice, because it was like it's one thing for you to do it once or do it like once in November and then once in the finals, but it was like, oh no, he keeps doing it, and it's like a backbreaker. Like every time you do it, no matter what had happened, to your point, in the 7 minutes before, the momentum has completely shifted just by
100%. Like Steph has done it for a while, and I mean, we had one play where like they checked PM with like 2 seconds left at like the end of the half, and like they got like 2 guys here, and they leave JB one-on-one like down the court in the post. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna throw it there. But it's like
crazy too, because we got a foul off it, and he made both free throws, and I'm pretty sure they almost booed.
Like you could hear like a noticeable like when I passed it, like not to pay.
We got 2 points.
Doubling like 70 feet from the basket.
Like, he checks in, everybody stands up in the crowd in the garden, and he's like back here, and I threw it there, and they're like,
I'm pretty sure you said, I'm sorry, P. Yeah. I'm like, we just got 2 points.
I'm sorry, P. Like it's just a moment, but
Are there any like weird shots that you do practice? Like we've talked about this with Luka before. Like Luka practices all kinds of crazy shit that usually he doesn't even end up using, but it just is. I think it's just some of it just for fun, but it's also like he does it over and over again. Do you have anything like that you may not even actually bust out?
I mean, not necessarily weird shots. Probably shots in the paint or something like that. But I don't know. Derrick actually does that more probably.
Yeah, I do a trick shot after every practice, and so it's mostly just for fun. Like just entertaining, and then now we got to get pretty creative, try to find a new trick shot. But
that's a lot of tricks.
Yeah, I know. We try to like incorporate different sports.
They mix it up.
Somehow we find something creative every time, and like we just have a group that does it, and it's kind of just some way to just have fun before.
What's the
game.
best one recently?
We had to do this one where it's like a partner, and you had to hit the ball side to side from half court all the way to the paint, and then you got to hit it from the like with the ball into the hoop. So you're like passing it back and forth with the ball and kind of.
And how big's the group? Like, what's the?
Me and Matt Reynolds is always to the two, but then it kind of changes based on what all the other coaches are doing. So usually 2 to 8 people usually.
It's gonna be fun to try to keep this up for the next like 5 years. You're like, there's
it's obviously something working, so you can't change it now.
Last year and like can't change now
For sure.
But I think Pete does like just a lot. I wouldn't say different stuff, but like just like little finishes around the rim that you do like pregame or just different stuff with different steps and or like ball handling too. Like just stuff that not necessarily what you're gonna do in the game, but kind of just get that routine and that rhythm.
Is there a guy either of you have been around from like a professionalism standpoint who you talk about watching people, just like watching and learning, who you feel like they don't even have to be like, tutoring you, right? Like you just like watch how they move and you feel like you've picked up stuff that you've added to your game in like a really significant way?
Everybody for me. Like I take like Derrick, Jrue, JB. I mean, JB was just joking about it.
Yeah.
We were just in the hallway. He's like, I was asking him. He said he was practicing his left-handed shots or something like that, and I'm like, I was asking him about it, and he was like, I ain't telling you because you're gonna steal it. But I feel like it's just as somebody that's always trying to get better. Like I'm looking at everything they're doing. Seeing things that D White does so well. I'm trying to like. I might not be able to do it the same way, but like, how can I implement that? Like, obviously, his effect on the game and what in that certain area is like unreal. So, want to add that. So, for me, it can be anybody, but there's a lot of great players in this league, and they do a lot of different things, and it's just learning and taking things from them.
Yeah, he's always asking questions about like different things he sees, and it's like I try to take some stuff from him, and like he'll say like I got that from you, and so I think that's the cool thing about the team is that there's so many talented guys, and you can just learn so much from just watching. But I'll say probably the one I've like the most consistent is Al. Al's probably the most consistent guy in the NBA. Just the way he takes care of his body and
100%. Unbelievable pro.
Just
there's a reason
mindset.
why he's able to play so long.
Yeah,
like you say, he's consistent. Good day, bad day, he's always doing the same thing.
It's amazing if you go back and watch him in Atlanta. Like obviously his game has shifted, and like we've done episodes with him where he talks about the three and things like that, like specific like strategic things that he's done. But he also is just like a carbon copy on the court. Like he's doing a version of the same. He's been doing it, since 2006, for sure, which is a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah, like just seeing the way he takes care of his body and just the way he competes and just always about the team and just having a guy like that that's he's done so much in the league that it's nice to see every day that he just cares about his teammates.
What do you think now, having been around them for a couple of years, and also won with them with Jayson and JB in particular, a thing that people don't know about them that makes them so special that you feel like has stood out to you just being with them every day?
Just they're hungry to prove that they're the best players in the world, and it's like the one thing I would say about the both of them, like they both want to be. They push each other almost because they're super competitive, but they're also both trying to be that like top guy without being it like in a bad way. But like, do you get what I mean by that? Like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but they play every game unless obviously if it's an injury that they just need to take off. But like, they love the game and they don't skip steps at it.
I would say, like from like my aspect is, it's just great to see like how much they like empower like guys like me, Payton, like like we got it going or something. Like they're like don't hesitate. Like so they like they're the stars and like they could be like some stars that you hear about, but I think they just really do a great job of just empowering us to play our game and just having so much faith and trust in us, and it really helps. Like for me personally, I feel like I've taken a big step because of guys like JT and JB.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. We did a ep with JT over the summer. We've done a bunch with him sort of the last couple of years. But like, even when you go back to his rookie year, the guy is just like, he's always won. You know, it's like I remember the games in Philly where it's like they weren't supposed to win and they were coming in and winning. And this is sort of what I was like curious about with the good locker room stuff. And you guys only know your perspective, you know, because you're only in your own locker room. But like there's something that those guys do that they've done since they've been in the league that has always led to winning. And they're extremely talented, obviously, but there's also a lot of really talented guys. You're in the NBA, you know, and so it sounds sort of like what you're saying is just, it is like, it's both, they have the hunger for themselves, but then there's also sort of like a broader, almost like macro look at the team of like, if you scoring 20 a night is going to get us a parade in June, like we're doing that. Like, I don't care. Like the individual accolades only mean so much if the sum of its parts are not met.
Yeah, they're great. And they do special things. And Joe says all the time, like, they're our stars, and like there's times like we need them to be our stars, and they always step up. And there's also times where just making the right basketball play, and whether it's just setting a screen, like obviously it gets so much attention. Like they do a great job with that, and so it just helps us play, and just giving us the confidence to do our thing.
Do you guys feel like after winning, there's an element of being, going from the hunter to the hunted?
I don't like to ever feel that way. I've never felt that way in my life. So for me personally, the mindset is always to be the hunter.
Yeah.
I feel like the Boston Celtics, being as historic as they are, will always be a team that teams will look forward to playing. Doesn't matter if they're bad, but playing in the Garden in that crowd, like it's a game you look forward to. But that's a mindset that I think we have for the most part. Is that we're trying to be the hunters always.
Yeah, we just love to hoop, honestly. And,
that's it, yeah.
But yeah, like it's a big game. Like I remember when I was in San Antonio, like playing in the Garden, I was like looking forward to it. Just all the history, the banners, and so that was even before I was there. So I feel like everybody kind of has that same, especially like West Coast team that's only there once. Like it's always a big game, and obviously we're the champs, and so it's even bigger.
We've talked a little bit about just sort of the motivation, the chip on your shoulder that's come from your background and like how that's driven you to this place. You've never really been an underdog, I would say. You've always been the best player, one of the best players in every team you've been on, from high school to college now to the pros. Besides your competitiveness, which we've already sort of like established, what do you do? Do you have a thing from a motivational standpoint that you will use to just sort of like drive yourself, that you feel like you've taught yourself over the years?
Well, I feel like I'm very like self-motivated already to always prove it. But I feel like there's the days that are, harder or more of a struggle. You're going through tough times and you don't really necessarily want to get up and go to work that day and get better. But it's remembering the people saying that, I would never be able to make it D1. I would be too short, not athletic enough. Once I got it to D1, people would say I would never start, and prove them wrong then, and then become a significant player at that level, to not being drafted in the NBA. And then once I make it to the NBA, he'll never be on the court, or he's a liability on defense. So I see everything, and
you clip it out.
I used to have a thing like it's like we joke around. It was like a burn book, but I used to write it down a little bit, and I don't like to use that as like the sole motivation, but I think it's good to pull it out when it's days are struggling, and so I see everything, and it's definitely motivating to keep proving myself right and those people wrong.
Yeah, I saw a quote you said a couple years ago. You said, "I wouldn't be in this position I am today without having a tough mindset. A lot of people look at me, they say I'm a 6'1" white American guard. A lot of us aren't there, so you got to be tough and bring it every day." It sounds like it's basically a version of the same thing. It's like you need that, like mentally, you need that internal toughness, or you're not going to be able to sort of hit these goals.
Definitely. I mean, it's not going to be a road like this.
Yeah.
There's lots of peaks and valleys, and through the valleys, you got to be mentally tough. And I've definitely went through times where I was thinking in college, my beginning of my junior year, that I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. Like, I definitely had moments where I questioned it. And to just the next day, just keep getting better and better, that, you know, one day you'll hit diamond or you'll hit gold and you'll break through.
Did you ever have any of those in school?
Like moments where
you had like a
doubt?
Well, just like this isn't going to work.
Yeah. I think everybody has it.
And
not everybody, but like have a bad stretch or you have a bad game or it was a big moment, you didn't rise to the occasion like you wanted to. But I think what P said was good is like just showing up that next day and like, all right, now I need to get back to work. And so I think just that consistency that we've been talking about this whole time, like it really is a separator between guys that end up hitting the goal like he was talking about, or guys that kind of fizzle off. And so you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, but showing up that next day and trying to get better and see what happens at the end.
What do you think 16-year-old Derrick and Payton, if you wish they knew then that you know now about all this?
What do I wish I would like tell myself?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've gotten good at it now, and Derrick was like, "Oh, I can show up with the same attitude and stuff every day." But I think I'm great at that now, but I struggled with it before. And I used to get super down and I'd ride the waves and I think that hurt me some years. And if I could go back and just tell myself just to not be so affected by certain moments, then I think would have definitely saved a lot of mental days.
Yeah, I think just like when you're 16, you want to make every shot. You want to never turn the ball over, but just understand that basketball ain't a perfect game.
For sure.
We just talked about it in the locker room today, like the game of basketball will humble you. No matter who you are, you play the game, like it's going to humble you. And so just having that mindset that it's not going to be perfect. Don't put too much pressure on one shot and overthink that one shot and just kind of trust what you do, trust your form. And but yeah, I would say not be so hard on myself.
Is he the best athlete on the team?
I mean, I can't say. I mean, it
Like
depends which.
What do you mean?
Like
Best overall athlete.
I can't say. I
Like
can't
every
say.
sport?
Just overall athlete.
Well, how do you classify athlete?
Athlete would be.
I'm not going to win a combine.
I mean, it's a good question. I would say overall athlete would be multiple sports, like
multiple
multiple sports, but not like not high jump and things like you do at a combine.
Yeah. I'd have to. It's hard to say because I don't know what everybody plays, but I'd definitely put myself in the top. Like I'm pretty good at most sports.
Yeah,
we played pickleball the other day, and I had KP on my team, and I had to put them on my back for the most part, and they were just straight targeted.
He was carrying the team for sure. Pickleball is not a tall person sport.
Yeah, it's not. That's not KP sport.
Do you have a thing? Do you have a non-athletic thing that you get like chess or something that you get very competitive about?
I don't necessarily do chess, but this isn't with like playing against somebody. But I enjoy playing like Sudoku, stuff like that. Like I don't know why, like little things like that. But it's not necessarily competitive. Mind games.
Yeah.
Just gotta like push yourself.
Yeah.
Figuring out. I think just figuring out challenges.
I'd say Derrick's probably up there though. It's like could probably play every sport: baseball, football, basketball. I'm not too great at
I feel like
golf.
we would be pretty consistent, like at everything.
What would your number 2 have been, you think?
Baseball. I love baseball. I just wasn't very good.
Like what's not very good?
Well,
you were
I was
small at the time, right?
Yeah, and so like
hitting
a ground ball to the second baseman every time is tough to get on base. But I definitely obviously I got bigger, and so I think I hit my basketball prime. I always say I hit my basketball prime late, so I probably would have hit my baseball prime late too. So
it's a funny what if. It's just like literally you had this exact same growth, and you just decided you liked it better. Yeah. I mean, I guess baseball's harder with what it entails from a.
I like baseball a lot, but like I said earlier, like it was cold out there, and I didn't love that. So
yeah, it's tough.
Chose basketball, but
we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Do you have a favorite Joe quote or moment?
He said some stuff recently that were. He did a press conference talking about JB, and he was like, "Yeah, we We mumbled.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. There was something else we were just talking about that he said that I thought was funny, but I mean, it's just like he just I don't know if he like knows what to say in the moment or like it just comes out, but like he's hilarious. He's one of a kind, honestly.
He's incredibly naturally funny.
He's funny.
There was a thing I saw. I was gonna send it to you. The thing he did with Scal on the TV thing today about the 5 second.
Oh
thing,
yeah.
Where I'm just like,
You probably shouldn't say that.
you can look it up. But like, but basically, like that's like natural.
Keeps a straight face.
Yeah, it's like funny. Natural comic timing. Like he's not.
What do you think of the New Jersey?
Yeah,
I like them.
Yeah,
and they say Celtics.
Like, and it's like a constant. It's a constant thing, and it just is like there's just a real skill in that.
No, it's I love listening to him. It's something new every day. So,
all right. So before we wrap, for the next couple months, your guys' goals. What do you feel like I mean, statistically, it's hard to sort of like top where you're at right now. But what are you sort of looking for in terms of like your own personal growth over the next couple months?
I never necessarily like to look at things statistically. So I look at it as, my daily habits. And if I control those things, the controllables, then it will take care of the rest. And so for me, it's just continuing my routines is to not skip steps. Like we get into Minnesota tonight, I make sure I get my lift in, I get my treatment in, and I'm eating the right choices and just those little daily deposits and just keep on that path. And I think if I continue that, then I'll do a good job of helping this team continue to win and at a high level.
He's gonna win 6th Man of the Year.
Yes, we're gonna will that into existence. Welcome back to the draft with Jason Gallagher and Trey Murphy, presented by our friends at New Era. Wearing the jacket right now, wearing Trey's hat, which he has not sent to Jason yet, but apparently is coming soon. Jason, do you want to set up the topic for today? You picked it. It's one of the best topics we've done, I think, since we've been doing the draft, I think.
Sure. Very simple. We are talking about the best trios in life. Could be sports, movies, TV, culture, food, whatever you want.
Period. Trey, you start it. I'll go second. Jason third. Snake it.
Wow, I'll go first this time.
We're mixing it up. Mixing it up.
All right. For my first pick in the trios draft, I'm going to go bacon, egg, and cheese.
Wow.
Great trio right there.
That's a good pick. I like it. Food is essential to the body, so you picked a great trio of food. Good job.
And my mom, she always asks me, do you live to eat or do you eat to live? And I still wonder what the answer to that question is on a daily basis.
It's great. Good for you. Are you allowed to eat that? Are you allowed to eat that stuff?
I do non-dairy cheese.
I was gonna say what kind of cheese,
and also turkey bacon. So like,
he's ruining his own. He's ruining his own. Pick was great if he didn't say anything afterwards.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going book and movie first. I'm going the Harry Potter trio. Harry, Ron, Hermione.
Damn.
Maybe the biggest book of all time besides the Bible. Very popular movie, making a TV series. 3 had amazing chemistry, bringing all kinds of different looks together. I was worried someone was going to take it, so I'm just taking it off the board now.
Sucks. I hate going last. I am going to go with the Heatles. I'm just going to start there. I think that when you say the words Big Three out loud, they are kind of the first thing that comes to mind. So I'm going to go with them for my first pick. And for my second pick, I'm gonna go with. I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm gonna go with Luke, Han, and Leia. Those are my. That's my next pick.
Heatles is the first pick. I mean, it's interesting. They had to go. They had to be in the conversation.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Is that who's your? Actually, never mind. I'm not gonna ask this because you might pick them. Okay, I like both those picks. Would not be my NBA selection, but actually I'm gonna take my NBA selection right now because I'm worried Trey's gonna take it. I'm going Michael Scotty Dennis.
Just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
Michael Scotty Dennis, baby.
That's okay. That's decent.
I got to pick. Should I pick a year? 97 Bulls.
It's good.
So my turn now, and I get 2 picks. So for my first pick, I'm gonna go rock, paper, scissors. Ultimate game right there.
Trey's fucking
settles a lot of battles, a lot of conflict. Men
two for
decide, great decisions off of this, and tiebreakers.
That's true.
For my third pick, I'm gonna go Ed, and Eddie. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I was just old enough to actually be able to watch it. So I know you guys were probably in college when it came out or something, but
I'm not that old. I was younger.
When did Ed, and Eddie come out? I have no context for this.
It was definitely when I was in high school because I used to watch it. I wasn't watching Ed, and Eddie. I was not watching Ed, and Eddie in college. I didn't have a TV in college.
Did you really like Ed, and Eddie, Trey, or is it a pander pick?
It's one of those things where it's just like mindless TV, and I like mindless TV a lot. You know?
Okay.
Wow.
I think you smoked your first 2. This one I'm a little bit. This feels like the Google machine popped up.
That's a great. Just wait for the next 2.
All right. I think for my third pick, I'm gonna go music. I'm gonna go the Supremes. It's probably probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite trio.
Bro, that's a terrible pick.
What's funny is I can't take it back. I gotta stick with it. But it's not actually I should not have picked them because nobody else was going to. And
no one was picking that. And also, if you're gonna do music, there's so many.
No, there's not
options.
though. There's not. There's so many 4. There's not that many trios. There's another trio I should have picked, which we can get to at the end if it's still there.
No, don't say it.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I mean, the Supremes are it's first ballot Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, it's not a bad pick. Supremes are one of the great artist groups of all time. I probably shouldn't have picked it in this draft, knowing who I'm drafting with, because they were gonna.
I wasn't gonna take them.
They were gonna last.
No, I wasn't. I promise you, they were safe.
They were safe.
Trey, did you listen to Supremes when you were growing up?
I don't even know who that is, to be honest.
That's okay. All right, man.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I know who they are.
You know who Diana Ross is, Trey?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, so you know who the Supremes are.
Okay, well then, yeah. Don't forget.
Ask your mom about the Supremes. Go downstairs after this and ask her about the Supremes.
I'm downstairs right now. I'll ask her.
Go outside the room. All right. You know what? I'm not even happy with it, but we just got to move on.
You know what, though, Tommy? Because all of us are going to pick things that are near and dear to our hearts, so that's totally fine.
I'm just saying, like, we just got past Christmas. When you look at the most popular Christmas music, when you look at, like, I don't have all the numbers written out in front of me, but the Supremes are like picking Elvis in a draft. Like, it is a thing that it's a little dated, it's a little whatever, but it's like it's not a random group from like 1972 that I'm like obsessed with. It's like a transcendent musical group. But you know what? It's all good.
Okay.
Jason's
I'm gonna go with my food pick now. Graham crackers, chocolates, and marshmallows. I'm a massive fan of s'mores. Probably my favorite dessert. So going with that.
Good pick. Do you eat s'mores, Trey?
I do. I love a good s'mores. I cannot lie. So I can't even say anything bad about the pick.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
And then this one, I'm gonna go with. So I'm a big wrestling fan, WWF fan. Are you guys? This is the pick for my heart. Okay, so it's NWO, which is a wrestling group. Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall.
That's
pretty
good.
sure 1, 2, maybe all are canceled in some way, shape, or form that nowadays. So please don't judge.
Who isn't canceled?
But you know what? Back then they were rock stars. So shout out them.
I like it. You're mixing it up too.
All right, Tommy, redeem
yourself. Two
yourself.
solid picks. I'm going football. Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce. Greatest show on turf. Greatest Madden combo in the history of video games. And I would say the most exciting, there's been a lot of great quarterback, running back, receiver trios. I would put those guys up at the top. So that's my If I'm picking football, I'm going with those guys. Greatest show on turf.
All right. For my last 2 picks, first pick is going to be music trio. That probably is going to be better than the pick that Tommy had, and I'm going to go with the Migos.
Hey.
Long live Takeoff, you know?
All right, man. I just can't say it. Just keep going.
Yeah, don't.
Just keep going.
And then for my last pick, probably one of my favorite picks, we're gonna go with Kenneth Murphy, the original, Kenneth Murphy Jr., and then Kenneth Murphy the third. See what I did there? Trios, Trey. So
Yeah, we see it.
That pick sucks.
I just think that Trey started off with 2 bangers and then he just got progressively worse. You just literally played yourself out of contention in this draft.
just wait for what other people say, bro.
You picked
Just
your
wait for the
family.
comments.
You picked your family as one of your picks, the best trios of all time.
You picked the Supremes, bro, and nobody else is gonna pick that. So I don't want to hear anything from you.
I'm sure ever. You know what? I love it. I think it was great. I think it was.
Yeah, look at the hat you got on. Look at the hat you got on.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy that you did this because you were smoking the 2 of us, and you just literally opened the door. So Murphy family is going to look great on that graphic. The Murphy family. All right, I got a bunch of options. I'm not doing the music one because I already did it. I think this one probably is going to lose me this draft. And I'm going to blow it with this pick because I'm actually back in on Supremes. But it's one of my favorite movies, and I think that their chemistry is incredible together. I'm going Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris, Sloan, and Cameron as my 5th pick.
Yo, Jason, you see what he tries to do there? He tries to low blow. He tries to soften the blow a little bit, make it seem like, this is such a bad pick, and then he gives a semi decent one. So then we're okay, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
I just like that in the 5th round, man. I'm very comfortable with where I sit right now. I'm not gonna lie.
It's decent. It's decent. So I was thinking about doing music, but Tommy took the Supremes, so no, I'm just kidding. Tommy, what was the other music artist you were considering?
I think there's an argument for Destiny's Child.
There's no argument for Nirvana.
No, there is. I think you can make it's not my personal
Crosby,
taste.
Stills, and Nash. Come on now.
No, I don't think Crosby, Stills, Nash works because of Neil Young. I think you have to make a distinction. This is my issue with Destiny's Child is as much credit as you have to give to the 3 of them individually. You look at Beyonce and you probably would put Beyonce's discography up above Destiny's Child. And so that would be my issue with having
Probably.
there.
Yeah, but dude, you also picked Harry, Ron, or Hermione. You know what I mean? There's always a hierarchy in a trio.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young worked because there's 4. At its peak, there were 4. And so that was the issue with music is almost all of the good groups are 4. Or the duos that break up. There's actually not that many trios when you go back and look at it.
Yeah. If I were to be true to myself, it would probably be something like Blink-182 because of the era in which I grew up.
Trey loves Blink-182. He has a bunch of Blink-182 t-shirts. I saw them at the house.
All right, for my last pick, I can't believe this is still there. I'm going to go with the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Just knock it down. I think that wins me the draft then, right?
For some people. Trey's
That's the play you make right there. That's the play you make right there.
You don't respect it?
I respect it. I respect the move.
This is similar to the play that I made when I made when I talked about Martin Luther King on one of our drafts. And y'all didn't say anything about it.
I'm not gonna lie. I love Trey's family. I like that pick better than Trey picking his own family. I think that move. I think that's an effective pander.
Yeah, I went with the Republican strategy.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of people into that pick. Jason's probably going to win the draft with that pick, unfortunately. I hate to say.
Well, we know who's coming in last. We'll say that.
I can't wait to...
The Murphy trio?
No. You literally have a Trey Murphy hat on.
That is tough.
I got to stop wearing this hat.
That is tough.
It's a cool hat. All right. Thank you, Trey. See you in Philadelphia later this week. Rest up that ankle. We will be back soon with another draft.